Guys, welcome back to the channel. So today I'm joined by a special guest, my buddy Andrew. He was the core tester on Blasphemous 2 for Team 17. So I'm going to link him in now, and hopefully he can hear us.
Yep, I can hear you.
How you doing, buddy?
You
all right? Thanks ever so much for joining us. So yeah, this is going to go out on YouTube in a few days. We've got as much time as you need. I'm just going to blast a few questions at you. But first of all, how are you? How's Tricks?
Doing really well, actually, yeah. Work's keeping me busy. Housemates are keeping me busy. Been a good time. Having a lot of fun. So, yeah, you doing all right?
I'm good, buddy. It's quite a timely... I know we've been talking about trying to do this chit-chat for a little while.
Yeah.
It's quite timely because I have just finished Blasphemous 2 this week.
Oh, fantastic! Yeah,
and
actually, that makes a lot more sense because I can actually. Got to be wearing spoilers, but you know,
I was kind of worried. I was going to say something to me if we do it like last week or the week before, and I won't know that bit yet. But I've got the platinum trophy as well. I was super pleased to get that.
I've just got the rush through and kill that boss. I can do it. I just haven't done it yet. I need to get around to doing it. That's the last achievement I need. So yeah.
Right. Okie dokie. Yeah. Yeah. So a couple of the trophies I really struggled on, and a couple of the bosses going through the game. Like one of the really early bosses, is it Lumless or Loommess, something like that?
Lemez. Yeah.
Lemez took me like an entire session. I must have been on that guy for a couple of hours thinking, what am I doing wrong here?
That's the guy with the big coffin who's trying to hit you with it, yeah?
Yeah, and there's like a little guy jumping around.
Small, yeah. I think his name's still Small. Yeah, one thing.
And he's got, oh, bloody nightmare. And then
testing that was fun.
You got a second phase of the fight as well. So then when it goes on to phase 2, it's just even harder because you've got both together. So yeah.
No, it was like there's a couple of weird things about because one, obviously I was testing. When did I start testing this game? They were still white boxing. About 50% of the levels didn't exist at all. Most of the levels kind of had rough ideas of where they were at, so there was lots of maybe sort of background doodles or whatever, but it wasn't anything like it ended up in terms of you wouldn't recognize it for the levels. You recognize the gameplay. That's been pretty consistent. But all the bosses they didn't have the names that they ended up with, and I'm used to those names, so I'll probably refer to a boss and you'll be like, "Who the fuck is that?" And I'll be like, "Who did they rename them to? I can't remember." But no, it was I think Lemez and Small. That was their initial name. I could be pronouncing it wrong. They are Spanish. I am not. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong. But that they were their initial names. They were their prototype names. And I vaguely recall that they did actually put some different names on them and just be like, oh, no, we kind of like these ones and switch them back. So they actually kept their prototype names.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's cool. I mean, it's just cool stuff like that I really enjoy hearing about.
Yeah.
I am... Not only am I a geek, but I'm a bit of a Blasphemous fanboy. So
it's cool to see.
It's a real treat just being able to talk to someone about it that gets it like I do, but somebody that was involved with the game. I got to say, one of the first things I did, I think I took a picture and I sent it to you. Before I played the game through properly, you can look at the credits real quick. So I just went up to look at your name and check it was all in there and that. So that was quite cool as well. So... what can you tell us about what's involved with testing and your job?
Oh, yeah, sure. Okay, so testing, on the base level, testing is fairly consistent. You will be presented with things called test cases, which people who are far smarter than me will come up with. So they'll look at the game or they'll play the game and they'll be like, we want to make sure certain criteria work. So the most basic example would be, we've added movement to the game. So the test case writer will say, we want to make sure that when you press left, he moves left. When you press right, he moves right. When you jump, he jumps. He jumps on things, not through things. So as granular as you can get. And then that's passed on to general FQA testing, which is what I was doing. Beyond that, it's really up to the leeway we're given by the department and the skills of the individual tester. Different people really specialize in different things. And it's really down to how much of a leash the lead or the project manager or the senior gives their testers. I've been pretty fortunate to mostly work with oh Christ, my ear fell out. Pretty easygoing test leads and seniors, so I've been able to just run riot. I didn't get to run as right as I'd like to have done on this title. There's a few things I didn't get to test, which I would have loved to have done, or to dig into, but to be fair, we had pretty good testing teams, so I'm pretty confident everything got covered. But what we may do is try and look outside the testing criteria. So there's not a particularly good example I can think of with movement other than just trying to create some oddball test, oddball edge case scenario where something just won't work and you may break the game. And obviously the more mechanics that get introduced, the more we've got to play with. Like most of the best bugs came from just basically just hitting the controller randomly and just seeing what happened, and also getting fluent with the game.
Look for glitches and stuff.
What's that, sorry?
Just essentially trying to break the game almost.
Yeah. There's a lot more structure than there sort of sounds like for a lot of the time. Like we're generally pointed at an area of the game that's just come in that needs testing or needs review or whatever. Like often what will happen is we'll send the game off to there's all kinds of stakeholders. So one of them would be what are they called? I can't remember. Basically, doesn't happen so much with Team 17. It happens a lot when I was working with Sony. We'd send them off to people who say whether or not they continue to even fund the game. Milestones, I like milestones to hit and stuff like that. So we'll send it off to them and it's like, yep, this milestone's good. You're on track. You're doing well. We're happy with the progress. Here's more money. Keep making our game. But often what we'll get back is feedback or bugs or queries or whatever from those people who were looking at the game. And we'll be asked, check this out. Does this happen? Can you reproduce this? Blah, blah, blah. So, there's a lot of work involved. It is harder than people expect it to be. But to be fair, it's also as hard as you make the job. If you just tick the boxes and go through the work criteria, go through the test criteria, it's a pretty easy job. But if you try and branch out, get more creative with your testing, the difficulty ramps up exponentially. It's an interesting job, though. I love it.
Yeah, cool. No, I've got to say, if in another life, I'd have loved to have worked in the gaming industry, but I'm fortunate that I know a lot of people, including yourself, that work within it, and it's just quite nice to be able to talk and share, the passion. What when you got given, or when you heard that you were gonna be working on Blasphemous 2, having already known a bit about the first game, what were your initial reactions? What were your first thoughts?
Was fucking delighted. Honestly, there's two games that got me really interested in working for Team 17. Blasphemous 1, played it to death, love it. And a game called Monster Sanctuary, played that to death, absolutely adore it.
Yeah, my wife plays that one a bit.
It's a really cool game, really well made. The testing material, when I was actually applying for the job and learning and all that kind of stuff, there's quite a lot of Blasphemous 1 material in there as well, so that was kind of cool. Being able to like, I know this bit of the game, I know which bug this is. Yeah, here we go. I'm well away. I was working on a bunch of other titles prior to this one, and I'd just come off my big main one. I worked on a title called Thymesia. That was the main project I was on when I came into Team 17. I was on that for quite a long time, up until release. After that, I was kind of jumping between projects. A hell of a lot of projects. Most of them are actually out now, which is kind of cool. And I was just doing milestone testing on them. And then Blasphemous came up, and I think it was 3 milestones with Blasphemous to begin with. And every time it was a delight just seeing what progress they'd made. And then I actually got put on as a core tester for Blasphemous when they were ramping up. I was so excited. The game was fantastic. I love the first game. I'm familiar with the studio. I've seen obviously they've worked on Blasphemous before. And weird random fact, I used to do these videos called Meditation Games, which was 2019, I can't remember. And the creative lead of the studio, his name's, I forgot his name now, Michael something, totally forgotten. But he actually made a Meditation game, so that's actually how I heard of him and the game initially. I was just testing this little game jam thing that he made, and I went to see who created it, and it was him, and Blasphemous was there, and I was like, oh, this is really cool. So to actually work on a project that he was working on was kind of like, that's exciting.
It's funny how life, it's funny how life kind of throws stuff at you, and you've kind of already familiar, already know people that are involved in stuff. No, that's cool. That's awesome. When you so once you kind of got over the initial shock and like, wow, okay, and you were able to feast your eyes on this, you know, I don't want to say half-baked, but you know, this half of the game that you've been given, just how complete or how far off completion was it? What sort of state was it in?
Game design is a strange, muddy thing because it's not very linear. You've different parts are sort of completed way before other parts. But then a lot of the time they'll complete it, and you know they'll go through iteration and design. They'll be like, oh, actually we could probably improve this bit or change this bit. Generally speaking, I'd say well under half the game was there. It's hard to say. Most of the movement and mechanics was there to some extent. A lot of it did get changed, but a lot of it's intact. Level-wise, not even 50% of the levels are in there. Boss-wise, there was literally one boss that was actually working when I started on it. And that was... I'm trying to remember his bloody name now. The guy in the... Man, I wish I could remember the damn names of these things. He's the coffin boss that rises up from the sand. I forgot his name.
Oh, with the big coffin thing. And then you got flames coming down.
No. Give me a sec. I will Google him.
The first boss.
It's kind of the first boss.
On his back.
Yeah. The glass coffin.
Okay, the first one.
I've totally forgotten his name. It begins with an E, I think.
I do know. I've forgotten the name as
well. I'm going to have to have a look.
Straight out of my mind. I know the one you mean, though. It's not the first boss, because that's like the really easy one. But no, I know the one you mean. It's like the first proper hard boss.
Here we go. Got a list here. Should be... Oh, come on. Start off. It's like IGN just popping up loads of crap. Radames. That was it.
Right.
He's... hang on, I've lost the... There we go. Radames, he was... I can't honestly remember if that was his initial name. I think it was, you know. But he's changed a bit. But the main sort of core of that boss has been pretty consistent throughout. I found it was so hard when I first played against him. And it was satisfying. Because the first time I was sort of learning the moves, you know, going through the motions with him, and I was like, oh, God, yeah, this guy's hard. This feels right. But by the end of it, when you sort of know all the moves and everything, you're just waltzing around in like an absolute wizard. It's like, this guy's pissed. Which is,
you get a lot of time,
it's always good.
Once you've done it a few times, it's almost practice, and then you think, oh, maybe this is too easy almost. But
yeah, that's one of the trickiest things where, like, we do a lot of feedback with a job in QA. Because it'll be like, is this guy too easy? Is this guy too hard? And you've kind of got to temper the fact that you're very experienced with the title. So I can't really say Radames is too easy, even though I'm absolutely whopping him. Because I remember when I first went against him, he was kicking my ass. But you also have to consider, like, are there mechanical changes that may make this easier? That is, we used to anyway, have something called usability testing. Where we would just basically get a bunch of randos who signed up to this initiative that we have. I can't remember what it was called. And they'd come into a room, would throw the game at them, would like, play it, and would get their feedback. And that stuff's really good because we can be incredibly used to something and think, oh, this is just far too easy. But then we put it in the hands of these people who've never seen it before. They're not specialist testers, you know, and they're like, I can't bloody do this. We're like, oh, it's fine. Or if they can't do it, we have to look at why can't they do it? We find it so easy, etc., etc. But it's hard to kind of keep that perspective when you're testing because you're so used to the game that everything feels kind of easy. Like, there's quite a few bosses. The one on the left is Ospina, I think her name. Oh no, not Ospina. Yes. She's a bastard. Ospina's the cocoon. Oh, she's hard. I always struggled with her. She never got easy for me. Weirdly, since I've been playing, I think she's actually been nerfed since I was testing it. Because I was playing against her when I actually got the game on release. I was like, I kicked her ass. What the hell? I wasn't this good against her, so I think they've actually nerfed her a bit. But Benedicta, that was it. Benedicta. The first time I fought against her, I beat her, and I was like, okay, she's too easy. I think they spiced her up a little bit now, but I still find it quite easy. But yeah.
I think I did. I think there were 1 or 2 bosses that I beat like first or second time.
Yeah.
And I think Benedict was one of the ones for me as well. But most of them took me quite a while to learn them. You just the repetition of learning the moves and just doing your best. To, you know. So what parts were particularly in the process? What parts did you find really difficult, challenging for yourself?
In terms of testing, I'm trying to think what we actually did. It's interesting. Actually, one of the things that was hardest to test is actually something that never made it into the game. The rapier used to have an ability. Like they completely redesigned the rapier. Okay. It used to have this thing where, because it has lightning attacks, it didn't have that intrinsically. You had to find something that was shooting lightning at wherever in the level, and you had to strike the lightning with your rapier to charge it, and then it would decay over time. That was a pain in the ass to test, especially with certain gates and stuff, because then you had to learn the route back to the gate to open it, and there's a lot of test cases you had to try and expand on. That was... To be fair, a lot of the game was actually fairly plain sailing in terms of testing, but that was one I just remember, God, this is horrible. I don't like the way this works. There was another thing that was awkward to test, just because it was instance by instance based, which is the worst. There was a bug where if you landed in the spikes, it didn't reset you properly. And you just kept spawning in the spikes and dying. But it was so specific to each one, so you had to... I literally spent a couple of days just jumping into spikes and seeing if I respawned. There was another issue with spikes as well. It was a similar problem. Like sometimes you'd hit the spikes and you'd be completely invincible afterwards. So again, it wasn't a consistent thing. I had to jump into every fucking spike in the game to try and find this bug, see what all the bugs were. It was a nightmare. But generally speaking, though, like most of the game was actually quite a pleasure to test. I think just credit to the studio. Obviously, they had a lot of experience with Blasphemous 1. This isn't a far cry from what they're making. I didn't see anything that happened late in development, so I don't know if something went wrong. But the entire time I was testing it, it was really plain sailing. It was incredibly well put together. A pleasure to test. It was probably sort of the best put together project I've worked on. So yeah, fair play to the developers on that one. They did a really good job.
Were there any parts of whether the testing or the other bits that you perhaps got involved in that you found that you just didn't enjoy at all, or what?
The advantage to testing this game was it was a really good game. And this does happen from time to time. There's a game that's just so nice to play that it's actually just fun. The first title I ever worked on as a tester was Blood and Truth. And apart from the cutscenes, which sent you to sleep after the 50th time you've seen them, because you can't skip the bloody things. But actually just playing and testing was fun. It didn't matter how repetitive the task. I was just kind of like, I'm just having a good time. Like, this is fun to play. Luckily for me, this fell into that same category as well. It was just fun to play, so it didn't matter how tedious the testing task was. By and large, I had a pretty good time. I'd say I think during some of the early milestones, because the content was incredibly limited in scope, like there was maybe 5 levels to investigate, 10 enemies, no bosses. Like I had time to spare. By the time I finished going through the milestone, I was kind of like, I got nothing to do. But once we were sort of working on the game properly, there was always something to look at. So no, there wasn't really a boring moment. Like even the jumping into the spikes thing, as tedious as it was kind of like just at least moving from spike to spike or whatever. It's kind of like, this is kind of fun. I don't mind this. And the combat is so good in this game. It's so like tactile,
really tight, isn't it?
It just felt good to play. It's got great game feel, as some people would say. I like to say it. I think it's pretty accurate. But yeah. Like they could just create a whole bunch of levels. They could have like randomly generated levels, and I would enjoy the game because it feels good to play. So if they ever do that, that'd be cool. But probably not.
How and it might be none at all. I don't know. Did you work closely with the Games Kitchen at all on this?
Sadly, not. It's something I'd love to have done, but the policy from the company itself was we have very limited contact. It was relegated to seniors and leads. Yeah, honestly, again, it's generally project by project. It depends what the lead is happy for you to do. And the seniors or whoever's involved. But with this title, we were kept fairly distant from them. We didn't get to chat as much as I would love to have done. Because again, to be fair, probably for their sake, I would have just talked their ears off about how much I love the first game. But then maybe they would have liked that. Who knows? But he's who am I on about? No, we had a Discord where we could sort of drop stuff in. But we weren't really allowed to sort of chat and make friends with them, sadly. I would love to have done, but no, that wasn't afforded to me, sadly.
No, fair enough. The game that you tested versus the game that you've played upon release is probably really quite different, almost like playing a completely new game, I guess. What was your favourite part of the game? And I suppose also, what part, when you were testing, were you really glad to say, I'm glad they kept that bit in?
When I first started testing, it was very dramatic game. When I came off just before like final sign off. There were actually changes. I'm quite shocked, but by and large, the game is pretty much how it was when I finished testing.
Right.
But that said, was it the? I know they changed the name of this. It was known as the Ghost Basilica. I don't know what it's called now.
I don't recognise that at all.
No. It's like an extravagant mansion. And there's another region that's come shortly after that with it's where you fight oh Christ. It's the one with the portraits that fly around and hit you.
Right,
if you remember.
okay.
I cannot remember the name of that zone.
Embroideries area.
Yeah. That has a completely different name to it wasn't. I do not know what it's called. But that level, even when it was white boxing, because you've got all your moves by then, and there's a lot of sort of aerial maneuvers. So you're having sort of jump, hit, which sort of gives you a bit of a hop, and then dash and land on these things and jump up, and it's very timing sensitive. I remember just playing it, and I'd left my feedbacks like, this level is fucking awesome. I think my feedback did get heavily edited by our leads and seniors. I was probably a bit too casual, I think. Very much just said what I thought. But no, I remember when I played that, I was just like, this is a good zone. This is best one I've played so far. It's bloody awesome. It just felt good to play. It was one of those you learned how to weave all the sort of mobility things together, and it was just, I felt so good. I think that's still my favourite region. It's so much fun to play and to test as well. I really took to that region. No, the Ghost Basilica, sorry, I can't remember what it's called. You come off the streets. It's the one with Vorospina. That was actually quite a fun one as well. I quite enjoyed that one. But
I enjoyed that. You had
bugs in that place.
You had to do a couple of things either side of the map to meet in the middle. That's right, yeah. To the thing to drop.
Yes.
So you could fight the boss, and I really enjoyed that. When I got to the boss, I enjoyed it a lot less when I got there because that. Yeah, that was one tough cookie. But
that's the boss I had the most trouble with by a long shot, I'd say. But although having played it on release as well, there's a couple of things I'm like, I think the fact that it did damage there was actually a bug and we didn't know. So there's a few moves that were completely unavoidable during testing. I was like, how the fuck get around this? And I could avoid them. I was like, maybe they were bugs and we didn't know. Which happens a surprising amount.
I know it was patched about 2-3 weeks after release as well, so that probably would have ironed quite a bit out.
I'm curious to see what I actually patched. I don't think I played since the patch.
Just bug fixes. In the patch notes, it literally was bug fix, but all of them were. So when you've got, I suppose, essentially when the game goes gold and you've got 1 million people playing it, you've got 1 million testers all at once.
So. I mean, to be fair, it's also like the idea. There's a weird thing with QA because a lot of people will see bugs in the game and they'll shout, "Oh, didn't they test this?" We did. And they'll be like, "Didn't QA see this?" Believe me, we did. 99% of the bugs that people see and, we'll make a video of, or a Reddit post or a Steam post, like, "How do you test this, miss this?" We didn't miss it. 99% of the time, we didn't miss it. But they can't always get fixed. Like, a lot of the time, it's how severe is this issue? Do we have the time to fix it? Do we have the resources to fix it? They're kind of how important is it to fix it as well with the time that we've got left. But also, I don't remember if these guys were bad for it, but a lot of developers that we've worked with are really bad for it. They will add changes after we've looked at it. This happens so much. It is a real problem. But we'll test something that's ready to go live or for release or whatever, and we're like, "This is fine, nothing's broken." And then they'll add a change and won't let us know, and it goes live and the whole thing's fucked. We're like, that wasn't there. What's happened? And then we'll look for the changes and someone put something in. We're like, "Why did you do that?" But I don't know if these guys did it. I don't remember if they did. I don't recall. But it's very common. A lot of developers do it, and it's very naughty. I get why they do it. I can understand, but also, pack it.
Stop making our jobs too hard.
It's more the backlash that we get from it, 'cause it feels really undeserved. It's like, we literally didn't see that. Like, we didn't see this build. How could we have possibly bugged it? But whatever.
Yeah. No, I get that. That's fair enough. So, just from seeing the game finished in its entirety versus early doors, a lot of changes were made. I really want to know what has been cut from the game. What can you tell us that has been taken out or that was cut out?
Quite a bit.
1, 2, 3, 10 things. What can you tell us?
I don't know how much I can say. I also don't know how much I can remember. There's one bit in particular I do remember. And it's in the aqueducts. What are they called now? On the way to get the the flail. I can't remember the bloody name of it. The weapons all changed names as well, which didn't bloody help. Crap. The war sensor. The war sensor. It's got its fancy name now. I can't remember what it's called. But it's the big hammery flail thing. On the region leading to that, it's like the aqueducts. I don't know what they're called now. I don't know if they kept their name. But there's a region that you can get to after you've defeated Radames. And there was this big ass fucking urn, and you had to drop the floor from under it so that it'd crash through the floor, and it opened up this new area. I do remember what it was, but I don't want to say just in case they want to use it for something else. But there was an entire area under there, which there's no trace of it in the game whatsoever. So
maybe I'm not like but you get data miners and stuff, look at stuff like that, and they'll see code written in that they think, oh, they might be doing that next. I think they do it with Fortnite and Minecraft and that sort of stuff, don't they?
I'd be interested to see what stayed in there, because to be fair, most of the stuff for that region, there might be some legacy stuff that leads to it, but there was no art in the game that reflected what was going to be in there. It was all in the design docs. So I think even if you data mined, you probably wouldn't find any indication of what that area would be. But I'm trying to think if there was some more. That's the one that sort of stuck in my head, because I remember doing the puzzle to unlock it. But I think there's a few areas that did cut down a little bit as well and sort of streamlined. Like the, I don't know what they're called either, the ramparts that lead up to, where the bird cages are. Yes,
with the doves in.
Yeah, that was a labyrinth when that first came out. It was a real slog to get through. It was hard to test as well because we didn't have the backgrounds. We had no frames of reference. And it was all just like white slopes, and we're just like, which bit's this? I don't know where I am. So it was kind of awkward trying to sort of like, we had coordinates and stuff like that, so we could look at the numbers, but it was hard to kind of build a mental map of where you were and where you were going. So there was another bit that changed dramatically, thank God, because I think it was the only thing I ever slagged off. I say slagged off, that's not right. It's the only thing that I really criticised in my feedback. There's the ascent that leads to the ramparts, actually, if I remember correctly. And it was just it was this really, really long straight tower, and you just jumped up these little platforms all the way up. There's no deviation, nothing. I was like, this is fucking boring. I left that in my feedback. I remember, I think it got taken out because I actually got told off for that. It was like, you're not allowed to say things like that. But I say, all right. But then they changed it. They added a lot more sort of flair to it, so you could I think they added the mirrors to ping you most of the way up, and also they added
and they've also hidden one of the cherub. I don't want to spoiler alert.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, there is. That wasn't there.
The cherubs is you have to look to the far. It's on the right hand side, and if you jump really quick and then jump back, you can just see it. So if you go up a bit, you can jump to whack it and then fall down. And,
I don't recall that being there when I was actually, that's one thing that changed a lot. The location of the cherubs. Bloody hell. I didn't know most of them had been relocated, so I went back to get them. I was like, it's not there. Where is he?
Where did he go? He's moved in.
Yeah. It wasn't too bad, to be fair, but there was quite a few. I was just like, where's it gone? Where's it gone? And there's lots of items and stuff that sort of got moved around as well. What was I saying? But yeah, that ascent area, when I was testing it as well, it was white box. So there was no sense of why. It was just a big vertical thing. It looked crap, obviously, because it was white box. And it was just boring. I was just like, I'm not getting this. I don't know why this is here. Literally, the second they added the graphics, I was like, somehow this completely contextualizes it. It makes sense, and I don't hate it anymore. Literally, all they did was add a dash of paint, and I think they removed some of the platforms as well. But it's still just a climb up. It's not particularly interesting from a gameplay point of view. But when it was white box and we had to test it, Christ, it was dull. But no, just a coat of paint really brought that area to life. So
yeah, was, I was gonna say it's not quite as bad as the ladder on Metal Gear Solid, where it's green, where you're just going for ages up this ladder. Yeah, it's not quite.
Yeah, it's nowhere near that bad, thank God. Yeah,
yeah.
I would hate to have been a tester for that, but yeah. Just climb up a ladder. But no, interestingly, that has brought me to one thing that has changed a lot since I saw it, because they'll bring in a lot of the side quests were in and complete when I was last testing the game. The one thing they had huge problems with throughout development, in terms of like just getting the balance right, but also just the amount of bugs that came out of them. They were ridiculous. They're always breaking with the encounter rooms or combat rooms. There's a lot of them. You walk in, the doors close behind you, and a sequence of enemies spawn in. You've got to fight them. Fucking hell. They're all completely different. I don't know about completely different, but oh man, they were a shock. Because I'd learnt them, I knew them, I knew the patterns, I was knocking them out of the park or whatever. Got around to playing it live, I was getting my ass kicked. I was like, this is different, this enemy wasn't here. Oh no, they added this. Oh, this is even worse than it was before. Those are definitely the bit that changed the most in development. To be fair, they were hard work for them. I can't imagine they were fun. But the amount of bugs, you could sequence break with them. Like, if you died, they broke. If you didn't pick up the item afterwards, they broke. If you killed the enemies too fast, it broke. It was just a nightmare. And there was a bit in... it's the bit literally before the final boss when you got all the blood coming down. There are these... I was going to say raising platforms, but I think they removed them. There are these encounter rooms just before you go to the next sort of screen, the next section. And you had to defeat all the enemies, and then this platform in the center would raise up. I think they've removed those. I can't remember if they're still in there, but Christ, they were a nightmare as well. They were constantly breaking. Also didn't help the fact they changed how the reload system worked, the saving and reloading system worked mid-game. Because it used to be, if you died, the things that you discovered and unlocked persisted, and I think that's how it is now. But what they did try to do partway through was have it so that when you died, you effectively reloaded the game. So all the doors you'd unlocked and all the items you collected were put back.
Oh, blimey.
but it didn't work. And it just caused so many bugs, so many problems. And encounter rooms were the biggest one, because certain items only became available once you'd done the encounter room. The right triggers weren't being activated behind the scenes. And yeah, they were a disaster. But I think they reverted it. I can't remember. I didn't die that much when I played as True, so I don't know if they kept that system or not. But yeah, halfway through development, they shifted that, and it broke everything. It was pretty funny, actually.
Cool. So what games are you working on at the moment? What can you tell us about what's in the works?
Since Blasphemous, the reason I left Blasphemous, actually, is I got promoted. Yay me! I've become Dev QA. I really wanted to be Dev QA on... it's basically QA, but they trust me more, and they pay me more, so that's cool. With Blasphemous, I'd love to have been Dev QA, because it would have given me a much more stronger through line to the developers. I could have actually talked to them, talked to the individual people making the systems, and really gone to town testing it. I don't know what bugs made it into the game. To be fair, like I said, our testers were really good, so I'm pretty confident that most stuff I would have investigated got cleared. But it's nice to do those investigations. I enjoy doing them. Since then, I've worked on Killer Frequency, which was released a few months back, if I remember correctly. It's a murder mystery DJ game set in the 80s. It's pretty cool, actually. Do recommend it. Nightmare to test, very boring to test. Like, the game is really good, don't get me wrong, it's great fun, but it is a narrative game, it is a story game, and after you've been through the story 10 times, you're just like, can I skip this? Can I please just blitz through this? I'm sick of hearing this. But it was a really good game. I really liked it, and I've been working on Golf with Your Friends until very recently. I was there for the content we've just released, which was I keep going to call it Forest 2. That is not what it's called now. It's called Peaceful Pines. That's what it's called. That's what we named it in the end. Really happy with that course, actually. I thought it was really nice. And I've since been moved to Hell Let Loose. I cannot say what we're working on, but it's cool content and a lot of bug fixes. Good God, we've got a lot to fix in that game. But it's a cool game, and the team behind it, because the guys who made it initially were Black Matter Games. They're no longer associated with the game whatsoever. Right. We've got an entirely new studio working on this game, and there's a lot of stuff that the previous developers did that we don't have, the Expression Games don't have access to, and it's like, oh God, how are we going to fix this? What are we going to do? It's chaos. But the guys behind it, especially in the design team, are incredibly passionate about the game. It's yeah, we've had a bit of a bumpy start. There's a few things that we've done that have not pleased the fan base, but honestly, the guys behind it are really interested into it, really passionate, and it's in good hands long term. So if you're a fan of the game, it's going to get better, rest assured. So, but that is what I'm working on at the moment.
Cool. I sort of one final question, really, for anybody that does check the video out and was interested in getting involved in gaming as a career, whether that be through QA or anything else. What advice would you give them?
The main thing that I would suggest is network. It is a small industry. The people you know are far more valuable than pretty much anything else you can think of. There's always things like game clubs in certain areas. There's things like public testing, usability testing, and so on. University is also a good way to get your foot in the door, but it's not for everyone. I didn't go to university. So if you can meet people and engage with some kind of community, that is a solid step. Because who you know goes a long way. They can give you referrals. Referrals get you into the door for interviews. And obviously, once you're in an interview, that's 90% of the battle. So, yeah. If you want to get into testing, luckily, testing is a very low, when I say low skill, you don't need qualifications to get into testing. Thank God, because I wouldn't have got into testing otherwise. I don't have qualifications. But that said, there are mentalities that are very useful. There are exercises you can do. Like a fairly good tester because I've sort of been testing all my life. I'm very interested in video games. I'm very interested in video game design. And me and my brother would play old games and things would behave funny, and we just wanted to investigate them. We wanted to break games. So it was something that we kind of developed as kids. And those skills have served me incredibly well in the field that I'm in now.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the better sort of academic route to things like Udemy is a really good source if you can't get into university. If you want to do like level design or coding or programming, Udemy is a fantastic source. Their courses are pretty cheap. They do go on offer a lot. I don't know if they're always on offer. I ain't got a clue. But they're a good start. They are recognized. Like if you say, "Hey, I've done these Udemy courses," is it Tristan, I can't remember his name, but they are recognised and respected. And most importantly, if you're going into stuff like that, have a goddamn portfolio. If you can do stuff, show that you can do stuff. Make things. Doesn't matter if it's shit. Keep it, because it is the weirdest thing that you'll make that someone in an interview will go, "That's interesting." That they made that, they thought about that, their method is really good or whatever. Like my brother had interest from a project that, frankly, it was his university project, and frankly, it was terrible. Like, we knew it was terrible.
Yeah. Okay.
But for whatever reason, a recruiter saw it and was just kind of like, "That's exactly what we need." Cool. All right. Cool. So yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you mentioned there just briefly, and we are sort of starting to run out of time a little bit now, but just quickly, you mentioned about you and your brother, who I know Michael as well, top lad, about playing older games and stuff, and you also collect for a lot of Master System stuff, a bit like myself.
Yeah.
I can see some goodies in the background there. So this is actually doing this video with you. It's the first time I've used StreamYard.
Yeah.
But I am going to try to do more of a regular spot with a focus on Master System, a bit of a Master System club, so to speak. So I'll have to see if I can get you back on. But
absolutely. I'm up for that.
How's the collecting going? How many have you got to go?
I've got 8 to go. I've got all the unique American games that I actually want to bother with. Because they had like, I can't remember the name of them now, but they've got like, it's basically KO boxing, but with a different skin. And like, if it's the same game, I'm not going to pay 100-odd quid for the same goddamn game because it's got a different guy on the front. But things like Alf, which never came out here, I've got that. So anything that just didn't come out here in any way, shape, or form, there's nothing like it. I've got all those now, so I'm happy with that. I've got 8 games left from PAL region. Kicking myself because a few of them I really should have got by now, and I've just missed them, and now they're really expensive for some reason. So, it's annoying. Like Asterix is the one that caught me out. Was it Great Escape? I was getting mixed up, but what the hell? That's something like 100 quid on eBay. When did that happen? But after that, I'm looking into ones that came out in unique regions, but I'll probably get repros of those. Like Andy makes cartridges. He's actually been doing them with some of the Japanese exclusives. I'm like, I'd prefer that rather than getting the SG 1000 or 3000, whatever it is, and getting those cartridges. I just want to play the game, and I don't want more hardware.
He's very talented, isn't he? And
he makes some great stuff. I absolutely love the stuff that his case is. His box art
I don't think he realizes he's as good as what he is.
A lot of those box arts look absolutely incredible. Yeah, he's done some really good work on those.
He's a master at work, isn't he? So we will definitely, when I get Master System Club up and running, you'll have to come back on and we'll do another one and just talk Master System.
That's
Andrew, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. Guys, if you enjoyed the video, then please like and subscribe. And if you want to get in touch with me and have a natter about Blasphemous or Sega Master System, then do so. Same for Andrew, I'm sure he'd be happy to have a chat with you. I think you're on Twitter, right?
Not anymore. Twitter's gone to shit. No, I'm sort of on Twitter. I have to sort my socials out again because I've not really been using them much lately. I'm on Instagram and I might jump on Blue Sky. What the hell? That's something that people seem to be using a bit more these days. So I'll give that a go.
Yeah.
I'll let you know, and you can put them in below or whatever. So yeah, we'll get that sorted.
In the description. Yeah, cool. Yep. I will do. Buddy, thank you ever so much. I really appreciate you giving me
absolute pleasure. Appreciate you being asked. It's been good fun.
Yeah,
I'm really glad you enjoy the game. That is heartwarming because obviously you're a big Blasphemous 1 fan.
Huge fan.
And when we were making this, it's like, I think this is better than Blasphemous 1. I want to see I just hope everyone enjoys it. And it's good to see that people are enjoying it. So really made up.
Yeah, it's a really good game, isn't it? I've loved both of them. I can't choose between the two. They're both so similar, but subtly different. And I can't sort of pick my favorite. They're both really good. So I think it's probably got my game of the year so far. So and I've played some goodies. So
pretty good year, isn't it? Yeah, there's loads of good stuff that's come out this year. Yeah. So no, I'm glad to hear that. That's awesome.
Good year. Right, guys, thanks ever so much for watching. And please drop me some comments below. Let me know what you think of the interview, the format, and if you've got any questions for Andrew, I can pass them on as well. Thank you so much.
Cheers.